Woman! Woman! My whales still have not arrived yet. Are you sure PE has not called?
No, not yet. It's been a long day. I mean a long day. You know the kind. It's the kind that just never seems to end. And now it's, say, 7 p.m. and you are exhausted. But yet you know that sleep will not be easy tonight again. You should do something. You look at the TV, but you know you need to escape differently. That particular rabbit hole has an escalator coming out of it because you've used it so often. Facebook beckons. I mean, just a few posts. No, you scream. Your spouse looks at you. They stand up. You look at them. What are they doing? Why are they handing you your shoes? Go for a walk? They've got the kids? What does that even mean? The door shuts, and I love you from behind the door. Oh, come on, I'm not that grouchy, you say. And then you see it. In the twilight hours, or at least where I'm from in the summer, adjust accordingly. In the twilight hours, you see it. And 8-year-old you says, let's go. Nature awaits. Welcome to the Chronicles of Geek. Sit back and join Ish and myself, Damon Roth, the geek from the north, this week while we escape into the awesomeness of nature. And don't forget to like and subscribe below. Nature. Remember her? Seriously, when was the last time you have really been out in nature? And I don't mean your backyard, although some can be quite naturific. And although some urban parks can be magnificent when it comes to nature, they are actually few and far between. Most urban parks, unfortunately, are very manicured and controlled. Can't have any weeds now, you know. Are those clover really a weed? Nature, real nature, is somewhat untamed. It's a little bit unpredictable, and it's full of rewards that are worthy of lifetime achievements, a la gaming style. Escaping to nature is one of the original, if not the original, escape. Humans have a basic flight or fight response that goes way back to our earliest days as life forms. It's probably how we survived whatever killed off our dinosaur overlords. Fast forward a few eons, and you have early humans that would literally have to flee into nature when threatened. Pop on over to whichever version of history you want. They all agree that at a certain point in time, a large group of folks left Egypt via nature. Now, yes, there are a few of you that are going to go, nature, who cares? And well, even if you don't now, one day you will. Perhaps you just never had the sand under your toes before. Escaping to nature is in us. We feel at home in the trees, next to the water, on the edge of a mountain. And although each of us will have our own separate little paradise, we all have one. We want to go there when we are down, when we are depressed, and looking to be happy again. The main issue is that many of us have no idea where it is.
Listen, I don't want to be a downer, but can't escaping to nature, have, bad consequences? Like that poor fellow and his bus.
Yes, Ish, unfortunately you are correct. Nature does come with risks, and the tragedy you're referring to is an extreme example of that. Although humans have the urge to escape to nature, we have for the most part lost our understanding of it. And even those that are fully equipped can have a very hard time surviving in nature. The show alone on history demonstrates that. And for a reality show, it's not that far off. The elements and runaway fires will kill you far quicker than any bear. Now, in the example Ish was referring to, a young lad decided he was going to explore the Alaska wilderness in a bus. The consensus was that he was ill-prepared for the journey. Now, luckily, nature exists all around us. We do not need to go far. We just need to open our eyes and look for it. It's right there.
It's time for the Randall Quizomatic. All right, question number 1, Randall Quizomatic. According to Damon and this show, other than nature, what's the oldest human form of escapism? Oldest human form of escapism. I'm presuming he means one of the other episodes or something like that.
Welcome to the Geek Flashback News, where we are going all the way back to the first ever national park in the world. For our Canuck Geek friends, we stop in Banff National Park in the year 1885, where we're just a little bit west of the little cow fort called Calgary. It's here that the CPR, Canadian Pacific Railroad, yes, that's right, our railroad, helped to form Canada's first national park, Banff. 3 railway workers first discovered a natural hot springs in 1883, and the railway company built the Banff Springs Hotel and Chateau Lake Louise and used advertising to attract tourists. The park is now part of the UNESCO's Canadian Rocky Mountains World Heritage Site. Heading a little south, we find ourselves in the majestic Yellowstone National Park, which was established in 1872. Spread across parts of Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho, Yellowstone was established by the U.S. Congress and President Ulysses S. Grant on March 1st, 1872. It is a large protected area that spans about 3,468.4 square miles. That's over 2.2 million acres. It is known for its wildlife and unique geographical features, such as Old Faithful, the geyser. Now, prior to the creation of the National Park Service in 1916, Yellowstone was run by the U.S. Army from 1886 to 1918, when it was turned over to the National Park Service. However, if we are to look for the mantle of the world's oldest national park, we need to head on over to Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, where Bogdan National Park was established in Holy Toledo in 1778. Bogdan is believed to be the oldest national park in the world, as it was established by the Mongolian government in said year. There is evidence, however, that suggests the area may have been informally protected since as early as the 12th century. Bogdan was officially designated a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve on its 300th birthday in 1978. This has been your Geek Flashback News. Today's Geek Flashback News has been brought to you by Ripped Apparel. Use the promo code GNN10 for all your finer geek apparel needs. And don't forget to subscribe below to keep up on all your fan-fueled content.
Randall Quizomatic, question 2. Which park mentioned in the flashback news can credit part of existence to a railroad? Seriously? A railroad made a park? What kind of weird planet is this anyways? Randall Quizomatic, question 3. What year did Bogdan become a national park? I wonder if that has anything to do with that Genghis fella. Kind of makes sense, as his other name is in there. Anyways, what year did it become a national park?
As we have already mentioned, folks want to escape into nature, and some folks will grab onto any excuse or opportunity to do so. Canadian literary legend Farley Mullet is one of these folks. Now, most advocacy for environmental causes earned him praise. However, it must be noted for history's sake that his admission that he never let the facts get in the way of the truth earned harsh criticism, as some of his claims in his books but later debunked. Moe's commitments to ideals and poetic descriptions and vivid images provoked at the time ridicule and lampoons, with him being equated to the present-day eco-warrior. However, it was his work in 1948 and 1949 when the Dominion Wildlife Service assigned Moe to investigate the cause of declining caribou populations and determine whether wolves were to blame. Upon finding his quarry near Newleton Lake, Moult discovered that rather than being wanton killers of the caribou, the wolves subsist quite heavily on small mammals such as rodents and hares, even choosing them over the caribou when available. The novel Never Cry Wolf is his recounting of his adventures in the Great White North. Chapter 4. When is a wolf not a wolf? As I looked about me at the stark and cloud-topped hills, the waste of pressure-rippled ice, and beyond the valley to the desolate and treeless rolls of tundra, I had no doubt that this was excellent wolf country. Indeed, I suspected that many pairs of lupine eyes were already watching me with speculative interest. I burrowed into the mounds of my gear, found the revolver, and then took stock of my situation. It did not seem very prepossessing. True, I had apparently penetrated to the heart of the Kuwaitan barren lands, and I had established a kind of base, although its location on the ice, far from land, left much to be desired. So far, I had adhered strictly to the letter of my instructions, but the next paragraph of my operation was a stickler. I was willing enough to carry on as per instructions, but the ice underfoot had a solidity about it which suggested that canoeing would have been deferred for several weeks, if not forever. Furthermore, without some alternative means of transport, I did not see how I could even begin the task of moving my mountain of gear to a permanent location on dry land. As to establishing contact with the steady species, this seemed out of the question at the moment, unless the wolves themselves decided to take the initiative. It was a serious dilemma. My orders had been drawn up for me after detailed consultation with the Meteorological Service, which had assured my department that normally the lakes and rivers in the Central Barrens could be expected to be clear of ice by the date of my arrival. My orientation course in Ottawa had taught me that one never questioned information emanating from another department. And if a field operation based on such information went awry, it was invariably the fault of the fellow in the field. Under the circumstances, there was only one thing I could do. Despite discouraging reaction, I had to have my first radiogram to Ottawa. I had no alternative but to seek new orders once again. Briskly, I went to work uncovering the portable radio and setting it up on top of the pile of boxes. I had not previously had time to examine the instrument, and on opening the instruction manual, I was taken aback to find the model which I was been supplied was intended for the use of forest rangers and cannot normally be expected to work over ranges of more than 20 miles. Nevertheless, I connected the batteries, rigged the aerial, turned some knobs, and pressed buttons according to the instructions, and went on the air. For some reason unknown to the Department of Transport, which licensed such mobile transmitters as mine, my call sign was Daisy May. Never Cry Wolf is an account of the author's experience observing wolves in the subarctic Canada, by Farley Moult. It was first published in 1963, and in the book, Moult describes his experiences in a first-person narrative that sheds light on his research into the nature of the Arctic wolf. It has since been adapted into the film of the same name. Now, the novel has been credited for dramatically changing the public image of the wolf to a far, far more positive one. Quite simply, every single wolf in the national parks of Banff and Yellowstone owe Farley Moult everything.
Randall Quizomatic question 4. In which geographic region does the above true story take place? Well, that is a very open-ended question, Human. I mean, the answers are, yes, I know. Just read the questions. Read the questions.
All right. Every now and then we find ourselves at the end of a road. The reason can be varied and really, it's irrelevant. But there you are at the end of a road. Perhaps you're contemplating life. Perhaps you're about to eat a quick, on the go lunch. Or maybe you just needed a moment away from the traffic. And there, posing with a literal representation of the past year and a half or so, is a rabbit. So you do the only thing possible. You follow the rabbit down the rabbit hole.
Randall Quizomatic question 5. What is your favorite place to escape to? Literally, what is your favorite place to escape to? Okay, humans, that's the 5 questions for today. Just give me a moment and I'll pull out the old answer book. Ah, yes, here it is, which means a human should interrupt me in 3, 2, 1.
This week's Random Quizomatic is brought to you by MetallicDiceGames.com. If you need dice or other gaming devices, use the code GNN and bound on over to our favorite little gaming site on the net for 10% off all your gaming needs.
See, I was right. All right, the answers to the Randall Quizomatic. Okay, question number 1. According to Damon in this show, other than nature, what was the oldest human form of escapism? The answer is dreams. Well, that makes sense. I remember that episode. Question 2. What was the park that was mentioned that was envisioned by a railroad? And that is Banff National Park in Alberta, Canada. What year did the oldest national park become a national park? 1778. 1778. And for the final question. Oh, wait. No, I have one more question. I'm not at the final question yet. Randall Quizomatic question 4. Question 4. In which geographic region does the above true story take place? Well, that story, of course, took place in the Canadian North, the Canadian Arctic, or anything that sounds anything like that. Anything like that. And finally, question 5. What is your favorite place to escape to? Now, the sheet says here Chronicles of Geek, but somehow I don't know if that's actually correct. But that's okay. Anyways, humans, hope you've had fun again. We'll see you next week. Where's my beverage?
We've been there. It's the end of the day. And we're walking for whatever reason. Maybe we're walking home because we take transit. Maybe it's the last few feet from the parking lot where our car is to our house. It doesn't matter. But you're approaching the entrance to your little community. And perhaps you're leaving it. And you pause because that 8-year-old you knows a secret. You look to your right. And there it is. You hesitate. You go. Nature calls us all the time, and when we heed its call, we can be greatly rewarded. We do have to remember that, like all escapes, if we go too far, we may not find our way back. Yes, I know some of you are saying, and what's wrong with that? Well, your family, for one, may miss you if you never return. But I digress. Nature allows us to do things that take us back to our roots, to our beginning. Whether as a species or as an individual, nature is where we are from. Ask any kid playing in a puddle if they want to come inside. Technology has enveloped us in every facet of our lives, and that in and out of itself is enough to push any person into a state of robotic existence. Lights, bells, noise, advertisements, information, the barrage never stops. It's constantly flowing, and that can be very detrimental to the human experience. And the only way to fully combat this is to seek out a refuge where none of it exists. We also must remember, when we're in that refuge, not to forget to take a moment and actually chillax. It's a very, very important part of the experience. And too often, people will rush through nature just to get the completion badge, while completely forsaking the discovery, enjoyment, and the ever-elusive Grandmaster badge of relaxation. The point of escaping to nature is to just be there, to let nature come visit you if you're sitting under a tree, or to recognize that some moments just can't be planned. They can't be scheduled. But sometimes nature, when you let it, just delivers. Until next time, I'm Damon Roth, the Geek from the North, escaping with you here on the Chronicles of Geek on the Geek News Now Network. So don't forget to subscribe and like below. And as always, my friends, stay safe, stay brave, and most of all, stay geeky.